There.
Thank God I'm on the left. Better than being on the right. Thank you. Joe told me that I'd speak for 20 minutes, so I prepared copious notes, so I'll have to bring it down now to 5. The Brexit vote here in the UK in June the 23rd last year was, in our opinion, an advisory referendum to the Westminster Parliament. The simple question was leave or remain. 56% of the electorate in the north of Ireland voted to remain. In 1998 we had a referendum in Ireland, both north and south, on the Good Friday Agreement. 74% of the electorate in the north voted to accept the outcome of the Good Friday Agreement. 91% of the electorate in the south voted to accept the Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement was not a simple leave or remain vote. The questions were much more complicated than that. It was a very detailed an agreement which dealt with many, many issues. Power sharing in the north in direct proportion to the number of seats they would win in the Assembly election. The All-Ireland dimension in terms of the North-South Ministerial Council. And what that means is that the executive in the north and the cabinet in the south would meet on a regular basis to discuss matters of social and economic and environmental and many, many other issues. There was also a facility for sectoral meetings between ministers. For example, the Minister of Agriculture, North and South, could meet on their own timescales and their own arrangement to discuss mutual interests. There were also 6 bodies which were known as implementation bodies that had authority throughout all of Ireland, for example, tourism and food safety. There was also another 6 bodies of an all-Ireland nature which were called areas of cooperation. Agriculture would be one of those. And later, as the Good Friday Agreement developed by mutual agreement, in 2007, the Oireachtas in the south set up a committee of which MPs in the north could attend and take part, and which currently meets on a fortnightly basis, every second meeting dedicated to the question of Brexit. And in more recent years, the North-South Parliamentary Forum was established between TDs and senators from the south and MLAs from the north, and that meets twice yearly. There was also 3 cross-border council bodies brought into place. The Northwest Gateway, which covers Derry, Staban and Donegal, ICBAN, which covers all of those counties on the southern end of the north, and Leitrim, Sligo, Monaghan, Cavan, Fermanagh and Omagh, and Armagh. And then there's the east border region, which covers Louth, South Down and parts of Fermanagh. So what I'm saying is, the Good Friday Agreement has an international status lodged at the UN. It was voted on by way of referendum by all of the people of Ireland, north and south. And so where does that sit vis-a-vis the referendum held here last year? And there are many, many clashes and many, many, many difficulties. For example, all of the citizens in the north have a right to be British or Irish or both. So they have a right through claiming to be Irish to be EU citizens. And now they've been told, even though they voted to remain, that they have to come out of the European Union. The core principle at the heart of the Good Friday Agreement was the question of consent. And the people of the north, and indeed my party, after huge internal debate, consented to the Good Friday Agreement. But we did not consent to leave the European Union. The vote in the north, as I've said, was 56% to remain. And that throws up even more difficulties. A few more examples. The Good Friday Agreement gives protection to the peace process itself, enables access to the single market, defends the common travel area, maintains all EU funding streams, which the British government have not guaranteed that they would replace, protects EU access to employment, social security and healthcare, guarantees workers' rights and conditions, and regulates environmental standards. And it also deals with the question of the European Convention on Human Rights, of which an awful lot of the Good Friday Agreement is anchored in. And of course we know the British government want to withdraw from that. So, in summary, what we are arguing for is that the North should have a special designated status within the EU. And we have had dialogue with the Irish government and through our 4 MEPs in Europe with many of the European leaders. Back, I think it was in 2007, there was a task force set up in the North by Jean-Claude Juncker, if I can remember right, which was renewed in January of last year, to look at all of the special problems, not only in the North, but on the 6 border counties. And as recently as yesterday, the European Vice President, Mr. Timmermans, said that in his opinion, the Good Friday Agreement was a miracle. That he grew up watching images of the conflict on his TV in Holland, and that he believed that the European leaders should be very protective of the huge gains that were made in terms of the negotiations on the Good Friday Agreement. And he said that they, and by that he meant the European leaders, that they would muster as much help as they could and with all the political clout that they could bring to protect the Good Friday Agreement. So that's the core of our argument. There's lots of details about the peace process itself, about the economic effects, about what common travel area means, and sometimes it's thrown out quite glibly as if it's a panacea for everything. Now, I was born and brought up in Glasgow, and I went home to where my parents lived in Donegal in 1968, before the Troubles broke out. And I was working in Derry, so I had to cross the border every day. And there was customs posts on the British side and on the Irish side. And you're driving a wee mini car and you had to stop and they looked in your boot each way. But that was relatively easy. But there were queues and queues of lorries with documents that big that had to be processed on both customs posts. And the common travel area was in existence then. So this easy, glib comment about the common travel area will protect everything. It won't. In my opinion, the British government are heading for a hard Brexit, and there is a huge danger that that will bring back the border in Ireland, and we know all of the implications of what that would mean. So whatever your views about the benefits or not of Brexit here in England, most certainly in Ireland, north and south, it will be a huge, huge difficulty. In fact, it could be a nightmare. And we are arguing very, very strongly that the North needs that special status.